Thank you so much. It's so good to be here.
I am really excited. We've been in each other's space for about a year now, and what you're doing is so powerful. But I know there was a time when you came at everything from a place of fear. Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Yeah, great question. So when I started in the online space, I was kind of a late bloomer. I didn't start till I was 51 years old to create my online business, and my career had been through. I'd spent 20 something years working for other people, so getting that salary. And so when I joined the online space, I immediately got caught up in the world of you need to do this and you need to do this and you need to do this. And so I bought so many things out of fear rather than out of absolutely this is what is the next thing I need. And so I spent a lot of money on things that didn't really get me where I wanted to be. They helped. Nothing was a bad investment, but I could have been a lot smarter because I was buying from a place of fear.
So when did you realize that it was fear-based and not something that was actually like your intuition or that next step?
Another great question. It wasn't, I didn't, I didn't even realize it until I experienced something called it's a process called rapid transformation therapy. And whilst I've spent most of my life studying psychology, positive psychology, studying neurolinguistic programming, studying coaching, I when I came across this rapid transformation therapy, I almost had the view of like, well, what's this going to do for me? I've studied so many things in this field. Like, how is this going to really differ? And it was only after I experienced that and I felt a sense of self trust and self calm that I'd never experienced before in my entire life that the penny dropped that most of my decisions up to that point were based in fear and not in trust. Does that make sense?
It does. So what are the difference in that feeling? It's like what did you like feel and know trusting yourself, especially about all those programs you were buying?
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's like when I experienced the I went to the rapid transformation because I was really frustrated. If the truth be told, by every measure on the outside world, I had a successful business. I had money coming in, I had clients, I had great programs. I was being invited to speak here and there and everywhere back in the day when we could go and meet people in person. Because we can't in the UK, we're locked down. I'm not sure what's happening where you are, but um, the outside measures were all like screaming success, success, success. But there was something that didn't feel right inside of me. And I knew that I was not necessarily attracting the right clients and they were struggling to pay me. And I was getting like all these things coming up. And when I experienced rapid transformation therapy, because what it does is it goes back to your old, the original cause of why you feel a particular way and you release it. So it's one thing to acknowledge that something bad happened in your past, and it's a totally another thing to actually heal it. And so when I went back and I healed things and I came back, it was like if you've ever seen the film The Ten Commandments, when Moses comes down from the mountain carrying the tablets, and it's like, I know the answer now. Like that's how amazing I felt after rapid transformation. I felt so at peace. And I was like, I was no longer jealous or envious of people who seemed to be ahead of me. I no longer felt any kind of resentment or anger towards people who did me wrong. I felt like so cleansed in my soul. And then I could really look at what do I want to do in my business and what's the next right step for me. And making that decision from a place of trust was so different than from making a decision from a place of fear, because the fear is only, you just never get what you want when you're making a decision from fear. You're always, it's almost like you're hanging on to something or someone else to have the solution for you.
So when you took that first step to just go with this new found self-trust, did you burn down that old business? I hate to say that word. That's like the worst word for since I live in California. But did you like tear down that first business that looked successful from the outside when you moved into this new thing, or did you slowly go into what you're doing?
I, well, like I do anything, as soon as I make a decision, I'm like a kid in a candy shop. Like as soon as I make a decision, I'm all in. I'm 100% in. You can't stop me. Bull in a china shop, not kid in a candy shop. Bull in a china shop is what I wanted to say. As soon as I experienced the rapid transformation, I knew I needed to be delivering it. I knew that I needed to be integrating this into what I did. And so as soon as I possibly could, I signed up to learn how to do it. And before I even got qualified, I started practicing on people and building up my confidence delivering it. And I'm like, oh my God, this stuff is so amazing. It's so incredible. And it actually felt like it was a grave injustice to any of my clients for me to give them business strategy without then doing that beforehand. Like that became prerequisite, excuse me, pardon me, that became prerequisite for everything else, because without that, it would be like going to find a plot of land that's like overgrown with like bushes and grass and everything, and saying, I'm going to build my house here, and then just start building without clearing the land first. Because you'd clear the land, you'd make sure you're not on some sort of sacred burial ground or something. Like you do some work before you start building the house. You wouldn't just start building the house. And also you make sure it's not like built on sand or something. You just make sure that you clear what you need to clear. So it's the same thing. It's like, I wouldn't suggest anyone build anything that they think is sustainable if they don't do that clearing work in the first instance. I believe it's like, it's part of your duty as an adult to do that work, to clear anything, especially if there is a disconnect between what you say you want and what you're actually getting.
And that's something I've noticed in your space that you are constantly talking about, is like what your vision is and what your current reality is when there is that disconnect. And if you're not in Denise's community, can you tell us a little bit about your community? You need to get in there, because Denise does so many amazing free workshops that have changed my life, including all the other things you do. But you need to be in Denise's space to experience some of these, because that red pill day that you did blew my mind.
That was so fun. Thank you. I'm so glad it made such a difference. And it was such like, that's me at my best as well, like creating something. I mean, obviously I didn't create the red pill because that came from the Matrix, but incorporating that into like, take this red pill and create a new reality. I'm like, yes, let's do this. Let's do this. So my free Facebook group is called Energy Alchemy for Genius Living. And it's about shifting your energy, changing that energy, because when you change your energy, if your energy is, energy, another word for frequency, if your frequency is low, if you're stuck in low level emotions, you're going to attract more of that. So this is about shifting that energy so that you can become more magnetic for the things that you want in your life rather than for the things you don't want, because the law of attraction is always working. Whether you believe it or not, it's always working. It works with the same precision. Like I've got this essential oil here. If I holding it here, if I let go of it, it falls. Law of gravity at work. Law of attraction works with the same precision, but people don't think so because they're not getting what they want, because they're vibrating at a frequency that's attracting what they don't want.
So what are some of the low level frequencies? And then on the other side, what are some of the higher level frequencies to make that law of attraction work?
Perfect question. This is called the map of consciousness. You may have seen me show this before in various places. At the bottom of this map, you've got the low level emotions like shame, guilt, fear, despair, helplessness, hopelessness. And at the bottom of that V shape, that's showing that those are low level frequencies. Those are like the lowest level frequencies that a human can vibrate at. And so you can only magnetize from that level. So it's shame, guilt, fear, despair, helplessness, hopelessness, anger, frustration. Those are low level frequencies. And then the higher level frequencies at the top are things like appreciation and enlightenment, peace and joy and happiness and optimism and willingness. Those are the higher level emotions at the top of the chart. And so when you're experiencing the low level emotions, you contract as a human. And then when you experience the higher level emotions, you become more expansive as a person. When you become more expansive, you're attracting differently in your life. You're creating, you're more creative, you're more open to opportunities. And what people don't realize is that when they have a childhood episode that maybe it was a one-off episode, or maybe it's was chronic, something that happened to them all the time. Maybe they were told they weren't good. Maybe they were told they weren't, pretty enough, clever enough, whatever enough, becomes ingrained into their psyche, and it's like held on to in their body at like a cellular level. And this happened to me. This happens to everybody. And until you do something to facilitate the release of that, at some level, you've always got that vibration going on. So many people, Jennifer, experience lack around money. And it comes from childhood. It comes from these stories from childhood that they then live into. And the thing is, they become so accustomed to looking for the evidence to prove themselves right that they can't even tell that it's a story anymore. It just becomes their truth. I'm always broke. Money doesn't grow on trees. Every time I make an investment, it's the wrong thing. I keep making mistakes. I can't afford to lose it. I need to hold on to my money. All of these things that people say.
Like me.
These are, if this is connecting with you, great, but these are real stories that I hear all the time from people. These are you're not alone. If you identify with one or all of those, that puts you with like 98% of the population, that there's a lack mentality around money, and it'll be something that's a cellular level, something that they're holding on to that needs to be released. When you release that, it's like, imagine that someone was holding a piece of cork underwater, and this is the bottom, and they're holding the cork there. As soon as you release those emotions, what happens is you rise right to the top. You go to the top, and you start attracting differently. And this is what happened to me, because I would have been holding on to, and we're all work in progress. It's not like you do this work once and you're healed, never to experience it again. But you experience it less and less as you peel back the layers. And courage comes before confidence. You have to be brave enough to say, yes, I want to do this for myself. Yes, I believe, because most people, the message I try to convey to people is, when you have a sense of self-trust, you have such a great base for creating a new reality. But to get people even to think, to trust themselves enough to make the decision that they could get into a place of self-trust is the biggest challenge I face. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. It makes complete sense to me. I'm one of those people you have to convince. Although I know it's so important, it's just one of those that, like, there is that fear. There is that deep underlying fear. So what is that moment, like, if you had a pivotal moment for somebody like me or anyone else that would be stuck in that position of, like, you have to take that courage. You have to trust yourself, even if it's just this one more time and these baby steps. You've got to take these steps forward. What is the one thing that you would say for somebody who has no courage that wants to go forward?
You don't, we tend to not marry the first partner we ever hook up with. We may have a lot of boyfriends and girlfriends and whatever else through the course of our life. You don't settle down with the first person. Some people do, but that's more rare. Most people date and they kiss a lot of frogs and they make a lot of mistakes and they invest a lot of time and energy and effort into someone who didn't deserve 1 second of their time. And they go back for more. They still trust that there's an opportunity out there, that there's someone that they're going to meet. I would say approach your own well-being with the same enthusiasm that people invest in thinking, all right, that one didn't work out. I can find love. I'm not just going to resign myself to a life without love, that they continue thinking that there's someone out there. And, but also knowing that if you have a string of boyfriends who all happen to have the same abusive quality or something like that, that the common denominator is you, and to know that in order to find good quality love, you need to do some work first. And it's trusting yourself. We're almost like robbed of trust as children for whatever reason, because our parents tell us, oh, don't do that. I'll take care of that for you. Whatever it is, like there are so many ways that that can manifest in our childhood. And we end up doubting ourselves. We end up thinking, like, I'll be honest with you, my dad used to just, you stupid idiots, that was his way with words. He was a good man, but we all have a shadow side. His thing, his words were a lot more coarse than that. But you stupid idiots. And so you think, I won't try anything because I'm a stupid idiot. I'm like, and it runs deep. It runs deep. And this is why when I first started my business, I was like, okay, well, all of these other people who have created success by, the measures that I was looking at, probably know better than me, because I'm just a stupid idiot. And until I did that work and cleared that, like cleared the old emotion, excuse me, did some forgiveness work, none of us are born, this might be my finest moment, none of us are born brave. We have to choose to be brave. We have to choose that we want to, and this is like my favorite subject, if you you could probably see from the passion I'm speaking with. We have to choose ourselves. At some point in my life, I had to say, okay, this is really scary, but I'm going to make that investment in me, and not putting up another barrier in the way, because it's so easy for us to put barriers up. I've done it myself, and I still do it. Like I'll sit on the fence with something, but now I know that if I'm sitting on the fence, that I can say to the person that I'm thinking of investing in, there's something I'm not 100% with, so not right now, because it might be that I need something else, but I don't know what that something else is. But that's coming more from a place of certainty than when I used to buy. It would be like, I'm going to buy this because it's probably going to, it's like throwing money at a problem and hoping that it's going to go away, hoping that someone's going to have the solution for you, when actually the only solution comes from within you. And I know if you'd have heard me saying this like 18 months ago, I'd lost the plot, but the answers really do come within you. And choosing to recognize that no matter where you've come from, no matter what you believe about yourself, no matter what things have been ingrained in you, that you can always create another reality. You can always create a new future. The invitation to my clients is to not every day, people take the past and put it in front of them. So they step into the past every single day. They're not stepping into a new day. They're stepping into the old patterns every single day, and they're staying comfortable in those patterns. My invitation is to say, I'm not taking the past and moving forward with that. I'm living in this moment, and I'm moving forward, and I'm trailblazing, I'm pioneering a new path that I've never been on before. I'm creating new neural pathways in my brain, just like someone who would have had a stroke, who has to relearn how to speak and how to walk. You create those new neural pathways. Most people don't have enough faith in themselves to take that step. But once you take that step, it's like you've crossed a bridge and you go, oh, it wasn't that bad. And then you start inviting other people and you're like, come on. Honestly, the water's fine.
I love
Sorry, that's me
that.
going off on a rampage. Does that make sense?
It does. And I love the rampage. Like it is so, it's empowering to hear that sometimes it's just that scariest step. And it might be that one little thing but it's not approached at, I'm going to throw money at the problem. Being that, the industry that I'm in, I see that every day is that people throw money at problems. I've got to fix this. I've got to be this.
Yeah.
And, you don't look at it in the way of like, for me, it wasn't something that I noticed until I was in your space of a frequency, and I love how you associated everything with that, looking for that special partner and all those frogs that we had to kiss. Well, maybe all those years of investing in people, those were baby steps of learning to trust.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, because you do, you learn something from everyone, and there was a time, if I'm really honest with you, before I did a lot of the deep work, when I'd finished with a mentor or something, and I'd be like, I didn't get what I wanted. I didn't get what I wanted. I didn't get the outcome I wanted. I would be full of bitterness and resentment because I'm thinking, I've now spent I've spent a lot of money. I've spent thousands upon thousands. Now, now I can look back and actually see the value in everything that I got. So even if I didn't get what I wanted, and I believe this is true, I believe actually this might be the most profound thing I say today. I believe I believe that we sign up for one thing, but we may get something completely different, but we get exactly what we need. So for example, I'd signed up with a mentor, and I felt a little bit like I felt bitter and I felt disappointed when I didn't create like the income that I wanted at the end of that. And in hindsight, I realized that at that moment in time, it wasn't a financial return on investment. It was a skill set I was acquiring. And now that I know what I know, I go back and I use all that stuff again. So maybe I should have done it back to front. Maybe I should have learned that stuff after I cleared the way. But instead, I learned the stuff, and now I can go back and use it. Like it was stuff about like, creating webinars and sales funnels, like all of these things that seemed at the time they didn't get me anywhere, but it was the acquisition of skills. Just like you go to university, you wouldn't go to university and finish on the last day and say, I didn't get my money's worth because I didn't make my money back on this. It's a skill set that you acquire, that you continue to refine and change and implement over time, that puts you in the driver's seat of your life. How do I want to use this information? Which of this is going to be the best? Like what feels good to me? Once you understand the smorgasbord of life there, do I want to do a 5-day challenge? Do I want to do a webinar? Do I want to do a masterclass? Do I want to do a YouTube series? Like what do I want to do to attract clients? What feels really good for my soul? And now I've got all those things that I can pull out from my years when I wasn't getting what I wanted.
Wow. Like I'm getting a little emotional over here. I'm like, that is like speaking directly to my heart. And like everything that I've been feeling about, I have the master's degree and all the certifications. I'm like, wow, I really did gain so much from those experiences. And I'm sure it's part of that frequency that you were talking about, is I've approached it with all that bottom of that triangle. So that's
Yeah.
what I've been attracting back. And that's what's special about you, is it's some, I think the special about you is that you're able to bring these things to the surface without even knowing you're bringing them to the surface for someone.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That really means a lot, because when I discovered this work, I felt like I'd come home. I felt like I was just a natural, and and it was actually quite validating for me when I would get other rapid transformation practitioners coming to me asking me to run sessions with them, and they may have been doing it for years, and I'm relatively new to it, but I think when you've got a natural, like you, Jennifer, you're so good with this, like having the conversation before this, you're just in your element, you're just in your flow. Like it was just so nice to speak to you, and you put me at ease. When you have a natural gift for something, it's just wonderful to be able to share it with the world. Like, I don't know what you've studied around podcasting, but if you studied nothing and just taught yourself everything, you've done a really good job, and you're a natural at it. And some people are just naturals at doing things. And this is what you're naturally good at. And I'm naturally good at getting people to recognize the disharmony between where they are and where they want to be, and let them know, you know what, it takes one decision. It takes one decision. You know, that time, like when you're getting married and you're walking down the aisle, you're like, okay, all right, this is a big decision, but I'm going to trust myself on this occasion. And it's about people taking that leap of faith from a place of, I believe there's something more for me, rather than I'm going to take a leap of faith because I'm desperate and hope that someone else is going to solve my problem. So there's a difference in decision making. There's a difference in saying, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm willing to trust myself to do this, to take a chance on me. Because
I
that was
love.
me. That was me. That was all. Everything I'm saying was me. That was me. That's my story. I'm nobody special, although I'm wonderfully funny. But
I agree.
but my point is that I'm nobody. I'm nobody special. And if you look at it on paper, I'm a 51-year-old woman who had a 20-year career working for other people. Like, you could say, well, how is she going to make it? How is she going to succeed? And there are so many people and there are people who are in their 20s who are making millions. And you could say, they're only 20, they're kids, they're just out of diapers. How are they going to succeed? And then, so nobody can put the limits on us except ourselves. We're the only limitation that we have.
Wow. I'm almost rendered speechless. That's a first. But you are bringing up that is that it is like, for me, it is me, like my own stuff. And I think that's what's so important about your work and how you're sharing it, because it is, like you said, you had rapid transformation coaches coming to you. I've done other rapid transformation programs. I've been doing them for a while now, and there is something different. And there's something special about the way that you bring it forward and put it out and whether it's the frequency that you're operating at, it is. I had no idea that this was a newer endeavor for you. I thought you'd been doing this for much longer than what you have been. It's so cool that you found your thing.
I want to blow my own trumpet here a little bit, and because I do think I'm really good at it. And what I feel like is, and I feel a bit tearful even saying it, when I work one-to-one with clients, I feel like I connect with their energy. I connect, and I can get with like laser precision what we need to work on. And then, so the way the process works, I think you've been through some of my pre-recorded things, but the way the process works is that you then get an audio of the things you need to hear most that are going to take you forward. And I'm listening, and there's something about, it's a gift. It's a divine gift to have it. And to then listen to that audio and have those messages reinforced to you is so powerful. It's so powerful. And people, like, they'll contact me, and this this is so funny, because my clients are always so happy to speak to me because I'm in their ear every day with the audio, giving them positive affirmations, which is really funny for me, because when I was a kid and my dad would shout, and he'd be like, come here, and I would be like terrified of things. And so every once in a while I'll get a bit nervous getting on a call with a client, thinking, oh my God, I hope they're happy. And they're so they're so happy to hear from me, because they're like, all week I've been listening to you. You come to bed with me, you wake up in the morning with me. So I'd love to be able to share this gift with people, because it's so empowering. And I also think, Jennifer, that people will look at me and go, it's okay for you because you're really confident. It's okay for you because whatever, like, they'll find any reason to say it's okay for me. But I was on the other side of that at one point. I was on the other side, and it wasn't okay for me, because I was looking at the it's okay for you people. And I was one of those, it's okay pay for you. You've got the money, you've got the confidence, you've got the audience, you've got the whatever. You can always find a reason. But it's about us carving our own path and creating our own audiences, creating our own vibe, creating our own unique display of who we are.
Yes. And I know you mentioned one-on-one and we mentioned your free group, but I know that you do group programs too, correct?
Yes, yeah. I'm doing a really cool one coming up. Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about the one that's coming up?
Sure. I decided to call it 555 because in angel numbers, 555 is like it's like a co-creation with the universe of something epic. So I wanted to focus because so many people, I mean, I have files upon files. In in late 2019 to the end of 2020, I had over 200 one-to-one clients come through for rapid transformation. And one of the key things that people were coming to me for was around money. So I know this is a big thing for people. And here's the magic. Like when you clear, like you, one thing affects another. Like it comes down to this thing of like how you do one thing is how you do everything. So when you clear something around money, it might clear up your relationships. So if you clear up relationships, it might clear up. So it doesn't really matter. But this program is called 555. It's about co-creating with the universe, something magical, focusing on money. It's going to be 5 weeks long, 5 key things, and it's in British sterling. It's £555, and so it's going to be a group program. And we're going to do. I'm also learning some really amazing ways to keep you in the vibration of receiving money, to allow yourself to receive money in, because it's so easy for us to shut down. It's we're good at giving, that's not necessarily good at receiving. So I've got the 5 week program. It starts on the 19th. It's going to be phenomenal. I'm going to be blending like stuff I've learned from Joe Dispenza, stuff I've learned with rapid transformation, stuff I'm doing with my current mentors who are like 7-figure business owners who I'm just like, you know what? I need to be in their energy. I need to be in their energy because you are some of the people you surround yourself with. So it's just going to be off the scale amazing. So I'm super excited about it.
And I'll make sure to get all your information in the show notes for all the programs. And even if you're listening to this after the 19th of January, Denise probably has something cool and new for you to pop in and check out.
Absolutely.
So, well, I want to thank you so much for taking this time. I'm going to leave it on this one question. If somebody only walked away from this interview with one nugget, what would you want that nugget to be?
Self-trust is the most underrated quality that we can have. And just like if someone was trying to explain to you what it's like to go into the water and to feel the water, you have to go into the water to feel it and experience it, to know what they're talking about. You need to feel what it really feels like to trust yourself. So find a way to do the inner work, either through the kind of work that I do or through EFT, or find some way to release that old emotional baggage to allow yourself that gift of self-trust. Because once you've felt it, it's like feeling true love, like you know it's the right thing, and then you can build your house on solid foundations when you are unshakable in your self-trust.
My goodness, that's absolutely perfect. Thank you again, Denise. I am so excited to share your message and your gifts with the Feed Your Body with Love community. It really, I have learned so much today and in the last year that I do just need to trust myself so I know what I need to do. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for having me.